Bill. Oh, hey, didn't see you there. Welcome back to Lesson 3 with T and F with Tom. Now, episodes 1 and 2, we've talked about a variety of things. We've talked about alignment, balance, putting, and we've said that the skills that we're learning and the understanding that we're getting from those lessons is going to apply not only to putting, but it's also going to apply to the full swing. And that's really what we're going to focus in on today, is we're going to talk about the big movements of the big muscles of our body. Now, with the jet grounded, I've had to utilize all sorts of different modes of transportation. I mean, I've been on a jet ski, I've been on a Segway, been in a taxi for Pete's sakes. Most recently, I was shoulder to shoulder with common folk up on my way to Fargo for a book signing. It really got me thinking about how a train is a perfect representation of the movements of our body, and as a way to teach you how to move most efficiently in your full swing. Let's go TF. Here we are on the patio of the guest house, and like we said in our introduction, we really want to relate the movements of our body and parts of our body to a train. Now, when I was curling 85s at will the other day, I realized most of us aren't built like Greek gods, and it's important for us to move most efficiently and understand how to be more efficient in our golf swing. So let's get into the details. In this representation, the engine is the strongest muscles of our body, or the strongest muscles of your body. That's our legs and our hips. The cars on the train are representing our arms. So if we think about how a train moves, right, we know that the engine provides the power, right? Our legs and our hips are going to provide the power, and the train's going to start pulling the cars or our arms down the tracks. That's the most efficient way. Now, most of us are doing some combination of things where our hips and our legs are providing some power, while also we're thinking about our arms trying to provide power. Now, throughout our day, we're picking up our coffee, we're picking up our phone, we're calling the butler. We understand that our arms and our hands are our feelers. This is where we feel what's going on and we move things around. When we think about a golf swing, a lot of times we go to these small controls to make our golf swing happen, not realizing that we need to give up control of these and give that control to the strong muscles of our body, right? I hear people ask me all the time, say, I want to be more consistent. And usually my first thought is you're probably not in balance and you're probably not using your engine as much as you could. So when we think about this movement, right, our engine is pulling and our arms and our hands are following along, getting dragged by our engine. We're really going to start focusing in right now on the engine, or the strong muscles of our body, our legs and our hips. So if we remember in lesson number 1, we talked about alignment and balance. We said that the way that we're built, our legs connect down through our ankle. Our ankle is a ball and socket joint, which our body pivots around. If we're moving our body forwards or in the ready position towards the ball, our brain is getting some signals about, okay, you're not in balance. We're going to take control of your arms to make sure that you don't fall over and get hurt. That's step 1 of what's happening. Number 2 is that we said these are the strong muscles of our body, or our engine on our golf swing. My body pivots around my ankle, okay? I want my golf swing to turn to the right and turn to the left. If at any moment my body moves towards the ball, I've lost that pivot point where I'm getting all my power, right? Not only is my brain saying, uh-oh, you're falling over, and it's taking control of my arms, but I've lost the opportunity to really utilize my engine the best that I can. I get a lot of questions about how wide should my stance be. Now, this is a really important part of what we're talking about in utilizing our engine, okay? The wider my feet are, the better I'm in a position to react to the wind blowing, the ground not being flat, but I'm also limited on my ability to get access to my hips and the strongest muscles of my body, or get the most energy out of my engine. So when my feet are really close together, I get the most opportunity to utilize my engine. So there's some space in between those two places where we are stable enough to react to those variables that are going to impact our golf swing, but also close enough where we feel like in this position, I get the best access to the main source of power, right? When my feet are really wide, I'm restricted on my ability to use my engine. When my feet are really close, I can really get my engine humming. When we're talking about the specific movements of our body or the engine of our body, right? Our hips, our legs, it's important for us to understand that at no time should our hips get outside of our ankles, right? We're never going to move our body this way, forwards, or backwards. We said in the most efficient way that a train's going to move, right? The engine's going to start the movement, or in this case, our hips. So the first movement is our hips are going to turn to the right. When we get to our backswing, we should feel the weight of our body on the inside of our right foot. We start our downswing, our hips are turning the other direction, and when we finish that swing, the weight of our body is now on the inside of our left foot. When we think about any sport where we are propelling an object, right? If I'm throwing a baseball, if I'm throwing a football, it's very hard for me to gain power if I don't load the weight of my body onto my right foot for us right-handed players or throwers, right? Throwing a football, throwing a baseball, swinging a golf club. The weight is going to load onto that right side. It's important for us to get in that position or we're really going to struggle with generating power. A lot of the stuff that we're talking about today is conceptual, right? We don't expect that you're going to take this information and put it directly into your practice or into your golf swing, but it's important, and we argue that understanding what's happening is the most important, right? Our muscles don't have memories, right? We hear muscle memory all the time, but essentially what's happening is our brain or our subconscious is giving directions to our body on what to do and what it believes is most efficient. So it's important that we load our mind with correct information. Understanding comes first, and then we can move on to the physical portion of things. So I want to talk real quick about the most efficient golf swing. This is probably counterintuitive to a lot of us that have played golf or think about swinging a club, but I'm going to show you kind of how this works. If we think about our engine or our hips running down the tracks, right, and our cars are getting pulled along or our arms are getting pulled by our lower body, even more efficient than this is that our arms are trying to fight the opposite direction, right? If you notice now, my arms are fighting to stay where they are while my hips are pulling me towards the target. You look at these rubber bands and what's getting loaded into them? Energy, right? I think about when I was young and I wanted to unleash a rubber band on my sister's arm. The farther I pulled it back, I knew the more it was going to hurt and the more she was probably going to cry. So that's the success that I was looking for. So when we think about this, another great way to relate this is to a bow and arrow, right? Most of us, when we think about a bow, right, I'm going to shoot an arrow. The more I go this direction, the more energy I'm going to put into that arrow when I let go, right? A lot of us, when we're swinging a club right now, we're going this way and we're trying to shoot the arrow or throw the arrow to the target or make our arms provide the energy, which is not the most efficient way. But like we said in an earlier portion of this video, those are our feelers. We go to control things with our hands and our arms, and a lot of times we don't understand how the more efficient way to do things is to rely on our strong muscles. We're going to run through a couple of examples and their representations in terms of using the train of golf swings that we typically see. Our first one's going to be an arm-focused swing. So just to reiterate, our arms are represented by the cars here. Our lower body, our hips, our legs are the engines. In this swing, our arms are providing the power and pushing the rest of our train down the tracks. That's going to look something like this. I'm taking my club back. My arms are the first thing to move. My arms are the first thing to start my downswing, driving my entire swing to the finish, okay? This is probably the least efficient golf swing that we see. The next example is going to be one where we're using a combination of our hips to provide power, or our engine, as well as our cars, right? It's going to look something like our hips are moving, our arms are also providing power, to get us down the tracks. So that's going to look a little more like this. Our hips and our arms are both moving back, and they're both moving through. Right? Third one, ideally the most efficient. We think about that bow, right? I want to keep energy in my golf swing until the last possible moment. I want to stretch that arrow back as far as I can. That's going to look more like this, right? Our arms are going to fight this direction while our engine is trying to pull us. Notice the difference in the energy that I'm putting into this golf swing or into this train compared to the others, right? So now when I get to unleash that on the ball, I stored up all this energy to do that. That's going to look like this. Our engine, our hips are going to move first to the back of our swing. From here, my arms are going to try to stay here while my hips are pulling the opposite direction the entire time, right? At no moment, at no part of that swing, do my arms ever move towards the ball. They're constantly fighting to go the opposite direction while my hips are pulling them. Now, again, these things aren't something that we think, hey, you're going to take this information, you're going to put it into your swing, and you're going to understand and be able to duplicate it instantly. But like we said, the understanding of how these different parts of our body work and the most efficient way to do it, providing the most energy for your golf swing, is step number one. The biggest thing that I want you guys to take away from this lesson is a combination of what we learned in lesson number 1 and what we've learned today. We talked about balance being the most important thing, right? Our hips or our engine is getting power because our body, the weight of our body, is over our ankles. Most of us have an instinct to move towards the ball. So if we think about our golf swing, our engine's turning back, our engine starts turning the other way, and our body moves towards the ball, we're going to encounter restriction on our hips, right? Inevitably at this point, I've lost connection to the ground, and my hips are going to slow down, and my arms are going to overtake my legs. We're going to show you how that represents here in our train model. Is if my hips are pulling my arms down the tracks and I move towards the ball, my engine's going to slow down, but energy from my arms is going to continue, and inevitably I'm going to run into a crash. It's important to understand these things so that when you go out and practice, your first most important focus is at any point, am I moving towards the ball? And then second is my engine continually providing power to my swing throughout the entire golf swing? I hope that this lesson has been informative and you've been able to follow along. Generally, this information is 2 full semesters at Yale, and we've tried to condense it into 10 minutes. Contrary to previous episodes, I'm available and would love to talk to you all if you have questions or comments about our videos. I really want to thank Kelly Goodrich at the National Sports Center, who's been an incredible, integral part of these videos. Filming, costume, maintenance, VIP requests, butler issues. She's been able to take care of them all. I also want to thank our staff at Victory Links. Director of Instruction, Jason Erickson, who's provided a lot of the information that I'm relaying to you, and whose help and knowledge I couldn't do without. If you have any questions, again, please reach out to us. Victory Links is open. We'd love to get you out on the lesson tee, talk more about the train, and every other way that we can hopefully help your game. Hope to see you guys next time.